Welcome to the Note-Taking Workshop. This workshop is designed to increase your note-taking abilities, making you a better student in the classroom. In this workshop, I will address many topics, including how to take notes, set up your notebook, and listen effectively. Being prepared for class includes completing assignments as well as looking ahead to see what will be covered in the next class. The following are some tips for what to do to prepare for class and what to do during class. First, preview your text and assignments prior to the lecture. Previewing allows you to identify main ideas and concepts that will most likely be presented during the lecture. Try to determine what is and is not important. Second, read over your notes from the previous class. Look at the course outline or syllabus to see where you've been, where you're going, and how it all fits together. Compose precise questions to ask about concepts, definitions, or assignments you don't understand. Request this clarification from fellow students or the instructor. And remember, if you're confused, other students probably are also. Lastly, obtain notes from any class session you've missed. During class, mark each set of notes with a date and title, and keep notes from different classes separate. Sit where you can hear and see clearly without distractions. After hearing from many college professors, those who sit in the front tend to get higher grades. Don't crowd your notes. Leave blanks to add missed items and to expand upon your notes later. Stay involved in the class by asking questions, volunteering for demonstrations, and joining in class discussions. Take too many notes rather than not enough. You can always omit unnecessary information later. Think to yourself, why is this information important? Focus on the point the professor is making rather than scrambling to copy the entire overhead without listening to what the professor is saying. Write down notes in your own words when possible. Use abbreviations and symbols to save time and/or to identify points your instructor emphasizes. Take notes in different colors to highlight important points. Stay alert for and highlight points your instructor emphasizes through his or her verbal cues. Also, watch for lists and summaries. Add examples your professor provides in order to clarify abstract ideas and to jog your memory when studying later. Make eye contact with the lecturer. Don't be a clock watcher, because instructors do not always pace themselves accurately. They may cram half of the lecture into the last 15 minutes. Learning as much as you can in class helps you to better understand and complete outside assignments. For example, if your instructor pauses during the lecture, use that time to review the notes you've taken so far. Use a tape recorder only to clarify lecture points. Use the counter to make referencing the tape easier. Meet a conscientious and success-oriented student in each class at the beginning of every semester and share notes. Now, I'm going to talk about setting up your notebook. First, keep a separate notebook or separate section of a notebook for each course. This will help you stay organized and avoid misplacing your notes. If the course requires different types of notes, for example, lecture notes, notes on outside readings, lab notes, or computation notes, arrange them on opposite pages for cross-referencing. Notes for each lecture should begin on a new page, with the date and page number. Make your notes brief and organized by abbreviating, paraphrasing, and numbering items using indentations. A formula, a definition, and specific facts demand exact wording. Highlight unfamiliar vocabulary and unclear ideas. Develop questions to ask your friends or instructor to help clarify information or concepts. If you miss something completely, leave a blank space and fill in the information later. Develop a coding system or scheme to mark your notes. For example, a question mark can represent not understood, an asterisk can highlight an important point, a dollar sign can represent a question asked by the instructor, an exclamation point can represent an important point. Finally, a number sign can represent a personal comment. Use technical abbreviations instead of writing out the whole word. A few typical technical abbreviations are provided below. Also, use technical symbols instead of writing out words. Below are a few examples of technical symbols. A good place to locate your coding scheme is in the margin of the notebook. See the example below. One of the habits to develop when taking notes is to listen for keywords, clues, hints, patterns, and other techniques instructors use when presenting or lecturing. Some of these tips for finding clues and patterns in a lecture include previews and summaries, written material on the board, highlighted areas on overheads, visual aids, repetition of points, vocal emphasis, questions asked during class, and cause and effect relationships. Some word clues to look out for are 4 causes of, 5 aspects of, therefore, in conclusion, and so we see, hence, in a like manner, on the other hand, however. Now, I'm going to share some tips for effective listening. First, sit near the front of the room. Find a reason to listen to the speaker. Ask yourself, why is this important? Listen for more than just facts. Try to understand the big picture. Recite key ideas to yourself. Take more notes than necessary. Pay attention. Avoid outside distractions and internal noise. Anticipate what the speaker is going to say next. Try to select main ideas and supporting details. Prepare for lectures beforehand. Listen before writing, and put aside personal bias and simply listen to the content of the speaker's message. Now, write it down if the speaker repeats an item, writes an item on the board or overhead, points or gestures, changes tone or volume of voice, makes a direct reference to the book, asks if everyone understands, gives an example, or slows down. Another note-taking best practice is to review your notes as soon as possible. Unless you review within 24 hours after a lecture, or at the very least before the next lecture, your retention will drop sharply. You will be relearning rather than reviewing. Some people benefit from rewriting or recopying their lecture notes. Remember to think while recopying, though. Blind copying does not necessarily aid retention. Use margin space to fill in abbreviations, add omitted points, correct errors, and write keywords. Check notes for confusing or illegible material. Add more facts and examples while the lecture is still fresh in your mind. As you read your notes, underline, highlight, or mark main points or important points you will want to give special attention to when you study the material again for the exam. Elaborate on your notes. Compare the information to what you already know. Connect concepts to see the big picture by creating a mental or written summary. Practice reciting the information using only keywords. Talk with other students about the lecture. Schedule short weekly review periods. Daydreaming, instead of being focused on the instructor, often results in poor, unintelligible notes. Here are some tips to help you stay focused in class. First, notice your writing. Upon discovering that your mind is wandering, focus on how your pen feels in your hand. Notice how your notes look. Paying attention to the act of writing can bring you back to the here and now. Write your thoughts down. If you are distracted by errands you have to run or other things you have to do, write them down on a 3x5 card and put it in your pocket. Mark your notes so that you know where your mind started to wander. Stay with the instructor. In your mind, put yourself right up front with the instructor. Imagine that you and the instructor are the only ones in the room and that the lecture is a personal talk with you. Pay attention to the instructor's body language and facial expressions. Look the instructor in the eye. And finally, notice your environment. When your mind starts to wander, bring yourself back to class by paying attention to the temperature in the room, the feel of your chair, or the quality of the light in the room. Run your hand along the surface of your desk. Listen to the fan running or the sound of the teacher's voice. Now, I'm going to summarize by talking about the 5 R's of note-taking. The first R is record. During the lecture, write all meaningful information legibly. The second R is reduce. After the lecture, write a summary of the ideas and facts using keywords as cue words. Summarizing as you study helps to clarify meanings and relationships of ideas, reinforce continuity, strengthen memory retention, and prepare for exams in advance. The third R is recite. To study properly, you must recite all the information in your own words without looking at your notes or the text. The fourth R is reflect. Think about your own opinions and ideas as you read over your notes. Raise questions, then try to answer them creatively. Record original ideas in your notebook and review them regularly. Use your creative ideas when answering exam questions, in classroom discussions, and when writing papers. Lastly is review. Before reading or studying new material, take 10 minutes to quickly review your older notes. Skim over the main ideas and details. Review enhances your retention of old material while adding new material to your memory. For help with note-taking or additional student success skills, please contact the Academic Support Lab. We are here to help you be successful.